speak on behalf of the Council of Governors and the Chairman of the Council of Governors today on this very joyous occasion to witness the entry into the status of city, the city of Eldoret.
As we celebrate this new status, we are aware of challenges and responsibilities ahead. With Eldoret's growth rate of 5.2% per annum, we anticipate increasing pressure on our infrastructure. The need for expanded infrastructural development is paramount. In this regard, I call on the Commission on Revenue Allocation, CRA, to consider adopting a new funding model specifically tailored for cities, particularly those with significant rural areas like Uasin Gishu, Nakuru, and Kisumu.
We are here gathered to participate in and witness an event of singular importance and the culmination of more than a century of growth, not just in Eldoret town, but in Uasin Gishu and the entire North Rift region.
The municipality was conferred to a city after the Senate endorsed the report formed by the Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, which approved the proposal. Following its approval in the Senate, Governor B said the new status will attract investors and position Eldoret as a hub for business and investment opportunities.
We owe sincere thanks to you, Mr. President, for granting the charter to the city of Eldoret. Your support has been crucial in reaching this milestone. This new status enhances our identity and pride, creating visibility and opening new opportunities for residents and the youth investors, farmers, businesses, scholars, educators, medical practitioners to thrive in our city.
Eldoret's rise into a city is a testament to the power of collaboration and the national and county, between both national and county governments, and we want to confirm that this is a principle that the ministry will continue to hold dear. As Eldoret steps into the new role of a city, it will serve as a model of what can be achieved, and of course we'll have to catch up with the other 4 cities.
Eldoret history began in 1908 with the arrival of Afrikaner settlers from South Africa who established farms in the Uasin Gishu Plateau. Initially known as Farm 64, it was officially named Eldoret in 1912, derived from the Maasai word Eldore, meaning stony river. The town grew rapidly after the Uganda Railway reached it in 1924, facilitating trade and agriculture. By the mid-20th century, Eldoret became a significant administrative and educational center, home to Moi University, established in 1984, and notably the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
President William Ruto has avoided the use of political language after touring back his home city of Eldoret with the top government officials, who included his Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, the 2 speakers of both houses, cabinet secretaries, governors from both sides of the government, members of the National Assembly and the public. But as usual, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua could not play low on being a village boy after politicians renamed him a village politician. Davis Karani with the details.
After touring what political analysts call his political weak point areas, that is the coast and some parts of Nyanza region, promoting his musicality and the repetition aspect of poetry about his formation of a broad-based government of inclusivity, President William Ruto arrived back to his home city in Eldoret, and contrary to what many expected to hear from him on the formation of a broad-based government, the head of state was full of his unforgettable memories on how tough it was for him when he started his political career.
When I first ran for a member of parliament, I didn't have a house, and it was a big problem because many people said this man will run away once we elect him because we don't know where to find him. So my supporters told me, you must get a house. So I got a house. In fact, it belonged to one athlete. So I rented the house, but my supporters said, this man has bought this house. And he has not just bought the house. He has bought the house together with the dogs that were in that house. Just to signify how I had, the ability to be around.
Having been born from a village which is now part of the city, the head of state felt proud of now being a city boy, leaving out his Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who maintained his stance on being a village boy, which the political analyst called his political style as village politics, and the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua justified the assumption.
Unakuanga mtu sete ya Nairobi, sasa uko na sete nyumbani, wewe uko mbele kama mfuko ya shati. Lakini rais ameniwacha kwa mataa. Sasa mimi nikitoka sete ya Nairobi, mimi naenda Gishagi. Lakini nasema ni sawa tu. Hata mimi nitakuja kupata sete siku moja.
The DP, who sought for favor from the locals of Eldoret, was full of flashbacks and reminded the locals on how he stood with President William Ruto during the tough times of his life.
Watu ya Eldoret ninapenda nyinyi sana, na mimi nashukuru vile mnanipenda. Mimi rais hawa wakale wa kawaida wananipenda sana. Na mimi najua mnanipenda. Si mimi nilisimama na huyu rais. Siku watu wengine walikuwa na rega. Mliona mimi hamkuniona. Mliniona hamkuniona. Kwa hivyo nyinyi mkiona mtu mwingine anaingilia, mimi naambia wewe ukwende. Mtamwambia ile mtu mlijua. Mliona akisimama na rais wakati ya shida ni Rigiji. Kweli ama uongo? Mtasimama na huyu rais wetu. Niendelee kumsaidia. Tuendelee kuunganisha Kenya.
Governor Nyong'o, who spoke on having received a direct key for the entry into Eldoret City, is Odinga's top confidant, and his statement politically is not by mistake.
We have somebody who will fight for us. And Mr. President, I've known you as a friend for a long time, and I know where to press the button when you need the resources. So I'll be bothering you very soon. And let me assure you that you have the greetings and welcome of the people of Kisumu to visit us any time that you are in this region. But today I realize it's late, so that I may not invite you to Kisumu. But next time we'll end early enough for you to stop for a minute or two in our great city of Kisumu.
Should we expect a political merger between the lake and the valley in future basing on Nyong'o's statement? That is food for thought. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
Moving on, appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Administration and Internal Security and the Senate Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations for vetting on Thursday, Douglas Kanja, a seasoned law enforcement officer, addressed several critical issues that underscored his approach to policing and public safety in Kenya. With a wealth of experience in various high-ranking police roles, Kanja's vetting was a pivotal moment as it could determine his accession to the role of Inspector General of the National Police Service. During his vetting, Kanja articulated a clear and strategic vision for tackling some of Kenya's most pressing security challenges, from banditry in vulnerable regions to ensuring police professionalism and accountability. Susan Ganga with the full report.
I, Douglas Kanja Kirosho, do swear that the evidence I shall give before this committee on the matter under its consideration shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Administration and Internal Security and the Senate Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations for vetting on Thursday, Douglas Kanja addressed several critical issues regarding his approach to law enforcement and public safety. Kanja expressed a clear understanding of the challenges posed by banditry in certain regions of the country. He committed to taking personal responsibility to ensure effective measures are implemented to combat the issue.
To leverage, and I know we have been doing this, to have, in the areas that we are also very thin on the ground, we need to have additional NPLs. NPLs, they are the local peoples. They understand their terrains, they understand their traditions, and the way of life. So myself, I would work very, very closely with people, with the leadership of these areas to see to it that what is agreed is implemented, because I know we have local solutions in those areas that can actually be incorporated and assist the national government in sorting out the issues of cattle rustling. And I have indicated that I will be willing to work with all the leaders to listen to everybody so that we can be able to get a solution to deal with that menace once and for all. Otherwise, as I've indicated there before,
when questioned about police responses to protest, especially concerning allegations of excessive force, Kanja acknowledged the serious concerns. He promised to address issues of extrajudicial actions and emphasized the importance of maintaining peace during demonstrations.
To what happened during the demonstrations. There's a clear demonstration that any use of excessive force cannot be around, and it cannot go unpunished. If approved and appointed as the AG, the AG through the Internal Affairs Unit can also be able to order investigations to look into those very serious allegations of the violations of the rights of the people.
Kanja also vowed that all police officers would adhere to required uniform standards before deployment. This commitment is part of his broader strategy to enhance professionalism within the police force, ensuring that officers are easily identifiable and accountable during the operations. The outcome of today's vetting will determine whether Douglas Kanja will officially take on the role of Inspector General, a position critical for overseeing the National Police Service and ensuring effective law enforcement in Kenya. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has called for crucial amendments in the supply chain and procurement laws to help streamline the sector and maximize on results. Mudavadi has told professionals to adopt a sector-based approach in reviewing the laws and regulations governing the sector for them to drive an agenda that fits their profession. Mudavadi noted that pressure from high debt service has forced the government to make tight budget adjustments on essential public sector development programs. Owing to the severity of the situation, Mudavadi said government has been forced to make difficult decisions to keep the country going, thus slowing down the transformation agenda.
Duplication and achieve greater value for money, including centralized procurement through our supplies branch for common use items, leverage economies of scale, framework agreements, so that people don't buy a biro, for instance, at different prices. You know, it's supposed to cost 50 shillings, and sometimes it can cost up to 1,000 shillings. How can we standardize all that to ensure that we actually have simple things that can be commonly used and commonly sourced, centralized through the supplies branch? I'm happy to report that working with the National Treasury, Director Korir is here, and of course PPRA also, we now have made significant progress towards addressing these challenges of common use items through the formation of what we now call Kenya Procurement Disposal Agency, which has actually been operationalized through Executive Order number 2 of 2023, which is essentially aimed at strengthening the supplies branch, as it was called, but now being called Kenya Procurement and Disposal Agency.
Your Excellency, at the National Treasury, we are undertaking key reforms that are underway currently, as earlier briefed to you. And together with other stakeholders, we are undertaking key reforms in the area of public procurement, specifically on digitization of procurement process, what we call the EGPs, electronic procurement, government procurement. This digitization, Your Excellency, is envisaged to create so much value to this country in terms of efficiency, in terms of increased transparency, in terms of greater accountability and feasibility of all our procurement process by the citizens of Kenya. Indeed, the jurisdictions who have undertaken this electronic procurement across the world have realized savings of up to 10% of their GDP.
As you look at the law, please also pay some special attention to the procurement processes under the PPP. Because as much as we want to encourage public-private partnerships, at the end of the day, we are engaging with public resources as well in some of these areas. So as you craft and look at the law under procurement, PPP is also some form of procurement. So it will call for better scrutiny so that we have better practices going forward and we can build confidence.
The chief executive officers, while we are...
A tragic fire in Kibra has left over 300 residents homeless after more than 30 houses were destroyed. The fire erupted late last night, reportedly caused by a stove in one of the structures. Residents expressed their frustration over the slow response of the Nairobi County Fire Brigade, which arrived at the scene without sufficient water to combat the flames. This incident follows a recent fire at Toi Market, where traders lost millions in property. Affected families have lost not only their homes but also their belongings, leading to calls for government action to assist in rebuilding efforts. Many residents are demanding title deeds to enable them to construct more permanent and fire-resistant homes, which would help relevant such as disasters in the future. The community is now pleading for swift government support to help resettle the victims, who are currently left with little more than the clothes on their backs. The future remains uncertain for these residents as they await the much-needed assistance.
This is an incident that has been going on and on and on. And I think the government should do some mitigation measures so that to avoid all this, because there is a lot of crowding. For us, this is the only place that we call home. When people go for Christmas elsewhere up country, this is our home. Okay? This is our only place that we call home, and we don't have another home. This is the only place.
We had a fire incident that broke out at 10:30 p.m. From one of the structure that they were using a stove that it passed out. So as we speak right now, we have family that are affected out of the fire.
Hakuna kitu tuko nao, tumebaki tu hivyo. Nara kuna tumanguo nilikuwa nimenunua hivi. Hii mwezi mwingine naenda kuleta kamgeni, but sahi sina anything, niko tu hivyo. Sasa serikali tunaomba tu mtusaidie tu. Wenye wamechomekewa huku Kibra watusaidie na msaada yenye wataweza.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our news segment tonight. But first, let us take a quick break. We'll be right back with even more.
Today, your art, it was all about modeling and fashion, and it's introducing our guest for today. Janzia, wapi your modeling career, like your modeling journey? Where did it all start? Okay. What are the roles now that you play now as Mr. Kasarani 2023-2024?
I've succeeded because I failed a lot, but you learn from your failures. You have to let your failures teach you, but don't let them define you.
Emmanuel atatuambia like the models that he looks up to, so stay tuned. Oh, and when do you take your crown?
Yeah, I'm the one who made the crown, and I also made these things. All these accessories, even the bangles, so it complements Africa as a continent.
Yeah. Do you have any scars from doing something really stupid?
I can't say stupid.
What's the weirdest gift you've ever received?
Weirdest gift?
Okay. And what will you tell your 16-year-old self? Sasa hivi venye umefika nayo Mr. Kasarani, what will you tell 16-year-old self akikuona sasa?
Hello, hello, boys and girls. How are you today? Because I am very, very happy. So we are on Kids Mind on GBS TV.
Today we're going to make ta-da! A boba tea letter set.
We are moving to singing class.
Skinamarinky dinky ding, skinamarinky doo. I love you.
The tortoise and the hare. Friends, do you know about this story?
Now you're finished to make.
Enjoy yourselves, everybody. Hello, hello, boys and girls. How are you today? Because I am very, very happy. So we are on Kids Mind on GBS TV.
Today we're going to make ta-da! A boba tea letter set.
We are moving to singing class.
Skinamarinky dinky ding, skinamarinky doo. I love you.
The tortoise and the hare. Friends, do you know about this story?
Now you're finished to make.
Enjoy yourselves, everybody.
Everywhere, GBS. Welcome back. You are still watching GBS News 9. Kenyans have often been encouraged to take their children for coding, programming and robotic lessons to enable them to dive into the impact of early coding education and compete effectively in the global market where interest is now in innovators and problem solvers. The government approved a new curriculum for primary and secondary school students that will teach coding. Kenya is among the first group of African countries to implement the curriculum. The move will put Kenyan students on an equal footing with students in developed countries. The inclusion of coding in the competency-based curriculum is in line with the government's effort to promote technology use through the digital literacy program. Coding or programming involves creating instructions for a computer to follow. In Kenyan classrooms, learners are taught the Python programming language. This coding process enables computers to perform tasks such as calculations, displaying text, interacting with websites, and communicating with other computers. The partnership extends to graduates, with Google committing to creating a job pipeline and providing opportunities for remote digital gigs and global project contributions. And now, our big conversation begins right now. Our focus tonight is on the evolving landscape of coding education for children. We'll dive into the impact of early coding education, review some of the center's notable achievements, and discuss the best ways to engage kids in coding. Don't miss this change to understand how coding is shaping the future. And who better to have this conversation than Mr. Raphael Nyongesa, who is a team leader at Skill Masters Africa, Kenya's leading coding for kids training center. Remember to keep your comments and questions coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. Good evening, Mr. Nyongesa, and welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, madam.
And now, tell us about Skills Master and the role you play there.
Okay, as you mentioned earlier, I'm Raphael Nyongesa.
Yes.
I'm the team leader of Skills Masters Africa. Skills Masters Africa is a coding for kids program whereby we look at how to engage kids at a young age preparing them for the technology era. That is, we train them on how to code at a very early age, and we focus on the age between 6 up to 18 years old.
Mr. Nyongesa, before we go further, maybe you can start by telling us some of your success stories that you have had.
Okay, Skills Masters is 1 year old. Actually, this month we are celebrating 1 year of Skills Masters, and we've had a lot of success stories. We've had coding boot camps for kids. Like last year, we had a coding boot camp in the month of November at Park University. And we've had also online coding boot camps during the month of April and August. Then we've had an opportunity to see what these kids can come up with. Like, for example, we are organizing the first ever coding competition in the Republic of Kenya. And it's coming up on 21st of September at Strathmore University. And you look at what kids are preparing to bring on board, it's really amazing. Actually, our kids have opportunity. Our kids have potential. We only need to give them support for them to explore the coding world. Yeah.
Now, for someone out there listening to this conversation and listening about coding and listening about coding with kids, as many know, concentration for kids is usually very low.
Yes.
How do you achieve this?
Okay, at Skills Masters, we say that we do coding with fun. We ensure that a child, we know that a child has a very low concentration span, but we must capture the attention of this child so that he or she can enjoy the learning process. So we ensure that we put our learning, our teaching model in a way that it's much of fun. Like, for example, we do much of what we call block coding, whereby a child can be able to see, I'm creating a game, and within a very short time, he's able to see the game running. So it makes this child to concentrate even for the 2 hours that we always allocate for each lesson. Yes.
And now, maybe for some of us who maybe underwent the 844 system,
yes,
and we have seen a lot of learning. We learned how to make juice through home science. Why is this coding different, and why is coding important for children to learn at that young age?
Okay, the future is digital. We can't run away from the fact that we are in a digital era. Even right now, most of the things that you do, you are really looking at them from the perspective of online digital world. Now, our children have been born in an era whereby we should prepare them for that technology era. So unlike us, who are all basically, we didn't know much about technology, these kids have been born at a time whereby technology is the in thing, and therefore we need to guide them on how to utilize those digital devices. Like, for example, right now, when I go to my home, my son will be all over my phone. My son will be all over my laptop and tablet. So I need to find a way of how to harness the opportunities and the potential in these children so that they can embrace technology as we go into the future. As it has always been said, that at some point at independence, Kenya was on the equal footing with some of the countries like Singapore. So are we going to allow these countries to continue opening the gap with us? No. We need to find a way, and that's why Skills Masters has come on board to find a gap which we are filling so that we can be able to train our children to be at par with other people when they are at the age of 18 so that they can be able to compete effectively on the job market. Yes.
And just listening from that, when it comes to coding, kids need gadget. You mentioned your phone, and maybe they need a laptop. Now we are thinking about families maybe in Kibra or other societies that are not as privileged, and maybe others who don't even have access to electricity. Moving forward, do you feel there is a balance in the country in terms of the effectiveness of the education?
Actually, there is a problem with CBC as it is. CBC is a good curriculum. At grade 4 and 5, a child is supposed to start doing coding. Actually, in CBC, we have what we call scratch programming. Now, you realize that there is a school, like a school which I went to in Bungoma County, Nasianda Primary School, a village school, which doesn't, even a teacher who knows how to use those devices that were supplied to those schools, it's a problem. So at Skills Masters, apart from just training kids on coding, we are also trying to do a partnership with the Ministry of Education so that we can be able to find a way of training teachers to handle these kids at that level in those rural areas. One, we have a problem with devices That's why at Skills Masters, in our trainings right now, we are providing devices. When you go to a school, we go with our own devices because we realize that there are some schools, even in slum areas, which don't have access to those devices. So we have devices to support that. And also, we are looking at teachers in those public schools which were supplied by the devices by the government, yet they don't utilize them. How can we be able to train these teachers so that they can properly utilize those devices? Yes.
And now let's get to the details of coding itself. Yeah. I think in the review I did mention the use of languages like Python. Yeah. Are there specific languages that work for children?
Okay. We have different languages, and our experience working with kids has been they love Python so much. Now, what happens is that we start off with what we call block coding. Block coding, basically, somebody has decided to change those text codes in Python into a block, whereby now a child just drags a block, puts it there, and then the computer interprets those blocks into the commands. So children are really enjoying Python for their coding, and we've made it very simpler for us. At Skills Masters, we found a balance whereby a child can be able to transition from block coding into text coding, and it's real fun. Actually, we are really seeing what these kids are doing, and the way they are doing it, we feel it's the right thing to do.
Now, just mentioning that, maybe you can give us a mirror situation for a beginner.
Yes.
How do they start, and at what point do we say now this person is an expert?
Okay. Let's assume a child of 6 years. He's joining our classes. He has never done much. Probably he comes from a rural setup or a slum setup whereby they've not had an opportunity to interact with the devices. First of all, we introduce them to the basics of the computer so that this child should be able to understand how to operate the computer. Opening the computer, switching it on and switching it off, being able to navigate through the different windows. Then from there, they should be able to know how to use the keyboard, because when you're doing coding, basically much of the work is going to be on the keyboard. So once we teach them through, we take them through those basics, then we can now be able to start showing them how to utilize a specific coding platform. Like, for example, we are really using Scratch and PictoBlocks, which is very easy for use for kids. So immediately we train them on the basics using the keyboard, understanding the parts of the screen, then we can comfortably go into the block coding. And then now from block coding, we graduate them into text coding. Now, whatever we trained them, like for example, they were creating a game using block codes. When we graduate them into text code, we create a situation whereby they can see, oh, I created this using the block. Kumbe, this is exactly what it meant in text coding. So it builds that appetite to know more as they continue learning.
I want to specifically know at what point do we call them experts, and how many languages do they need to know?
Okay. We have people who can specialize in one language, and we have people who have an appetite of learning more and more. So we have a child who is interested in Python only, and probably this person is looking at going into robotics. You see, robotics and Python will always work together quite easily. So this person may not really need to go into other programming languages, like, for example, HTML, the web designing, etc. So we shall encourage this learner to specialize in that area. And with the time, they can be specialists. Like, I know of a child who is in grade 6 in one of the schools that we are working with, and this child, I can comfortably say that he's a specialist in Python coding, because he can code for a robot from the scratch to the end, and the robot works. Yes.
Now, this learner can code for a robot,
yes.
And we have seen, like, other than these technical skills, what are other benefits of coding for this learner?
Okay. One, apart from gaining the technical skills, coding allows a learner to be a problem solver. You see a problem, you must identify an issue, because when you're doing coding, you are looking at a project. Just like any other project, you must identify a gap in the society which you want to address. So these learners should be able to develop critical thinking skills. We assist them to develop critical thinking skills so that they can be able to identify the gaps in the society. Then after critical thinking, they come to the problem solvers. We train them to become problem solvers. You've seen a problem, so you must try to come up with a solution to it. Then another key thing that we train our kids is to do collaboration. They must collaborate. They must work together. They must learn to work together. Because you've seen a problem, and you on your own, you may not be able to find a solution to it. But if you work as a team, you will be able to come up with that solution. So those are some of the soft skills that we teach, apart from our key target being teaching coding as a technical skill. We train our kids on critical thinking, problem-solving skills, collaboration, okay? So those are the other skills that we try to impart to our learners. Yes.
I think as we have continued this conversation, there's something that we have left out that a lot of people have concerns about. At what age do we say now this child can start learning coding? What age do we start this learning?
Okay, in our case, we are starting working with kids at 6 years. At least this is a child who can comprehend whatever the instructions that you give and can also easily understand how to use a computer or a device. So at the age of 6, a child can be able to learn coding. Yeah.
Now, for a parent who is watching this, what future opportunities does a child learning coding at an early age, what future opportunities does this child stand to have that other children who are not learning coding do not have?
Okay, learning coding at an early age opens a whole set of opportunities for our learners, for our children, because we give them an opportunity to expand their skills, not only just in the academic field whereby they go to class to learn the normal subjects that we know, but we are giving them an opportunity to gain an extra skill which they can be able to monetize if guided properly. And that's what we are doing at Skills Masters, that all our learners, with the projects that they come up with, we should be able to monetize them so that they can be able to earn out of their learning skills, from the skills that they've learned from us.
Thank you very much for the wonderful insights. And of course, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to coding and for kids as well. But sadly, time is not on our side. Maybe in 2 minutes, you can give us your parting shot.
Okay. I want to talk to our parents outside there. And we have an opportunity to equip our children with this skill, preparing them for the 21st century. We must ensure that they are able to get the skills properly, and we at Skills Masters, we are ready to ensure that they get what they deserve to have. And most importantly, we have an opportunity this year for the first time. In Kenya, we are having the first ever coding competition. We've christened it actually Skills Masters Code Festival. It will happen on 21st of September 2024 at Strathmore University. We are encouraging our parents to visit our website, skillsmasters.co.ke, to register their children for this code festival. You can always call our office line to make any consultation if you want to register your child for this code festival at 0704-010502. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nyongesa, for your wonderful insights. And I'm certain that anybody who didn't have a clue what coding is, they have got bits of information from you, and you're looking forward to having more and more in terms of coding for kids.
Yes.
Asante sana. Now, moving on, youths in Embu County are being encouraged to embrace digital skills to empower themselves economically. Leaders who spoke at Makema Primary School in Mwea Sub-County emphasized the vast opportunities available in the digital space that can be utilized by many young people for self-reliance. County Chief Officer in charge of Talent Development, Sports and Creative Arts, Pithon Mochoki, noted that many digital platforms had started monetization of their spaces that digitally survey youths could exploit. Meanwhile, Embu Ward representatives have threatened to impeach County Executive Committee members on grounds of incompetence, non-performance, and contravention of the law. This was after interrogating Finance and Economic Planning Professor Joe Camaria on reports of the Auditor General on County Revenue Fund for the year ended 30th of June that revealed massive financial malpractices during the grilling of the professor. Here are the details.
Python Mochoki charted the youth to use digital platforms to showcase their talents, engage with audiences worldwide, and earn a living from their content.
Wachezaji ambao huwa wanakuja kwa uwanja kila siku na wanatumia talanta zao to keep themselves busy. Kwa hivyo nitaomba wasione kama lazima uandikwe kazi ili ufanye kazi. Unaweza kuwa ni mchezaji ama mwimbaji na utumie hiyo wakati wa kuandika nyimbo ama kucheza kukuza talanta yako. So Meta kupitia hiyo pia kampuni yao ya Facebook tuliona ilikuwa ni wiki ambayo imepita wameweka Kenya kama nchi moja ambapo kijana anaweza fanya kitu inaitwa monetization ama kutumia akaunti yake ya Facebook kuweza kupata pesa.
His sentiment were echoed by Makina Ward MCA Philip Sangi, who asked the youth to utilize other such government initiatives such as Ajira digital program to earn a dignified livelihood living online instead of just sitting idle and complaining of lack of jobs.
Tunateka advantage the Ajira program ambayo ni ya serikali. Tunateka advantage pia ya zile kama Facebook through company ya Meta ambapo wamelaunch juzi ya kwamba Kenya will be one of the countries ambapo wanaruhusu kutumia Facebook page kujitafutia ajira na kupata pesa mfukoni. Na hivyo imekuwa siku ya kufana yetu hapa. Na pia zaidi ya hapo tunahimiza vijana waweze kutumia mitandao kwa njia ambayo inaweza kuwanufaisha. And I seriously encourage vijana wetu wakuwe serious content creators ili waweze kuchukua hiyo nafasi. Ndio unajua vijana wetu wa Kenya are talented and very creative. So tukichukua hiyo nafasi vizuri, we shall be leading the world in terms of earning through the media, through the social media, or rather through the internet.
Additionally, Zagi asked the youth also to organize themselves in groups to access the 30 of the government procurement opportunities reserved for the youth, women, and persons with disabilities. Many youths expressed concern over the challenges they face in exploiting digital platforms, including lack of resources and requisite training on how to effectively use them. The young people called for support in training to enable them make the most of these platforms.
Majina yangu naitwa Priscilla Mino, mimi ni mkaaji wa Makimu, mimi ni mwanabiashara na kuna challenges nyingi tunapitia kama vile nataka kuendeleza biashara yangu, inapata zile loans zinapeanwa na serikali, ukienda kuapply kuna vitu vinaitisha uweze pata vinaitisha kama.
Kwa majina naitwa Nyangena Steven. Mimi ni mwanarika kutoka wadi ya Makima, na huku Makima kuna mambo ambayo yanakuwa ni changamoto kwetu haswa wanarika. Jambo la kwanza ni lile la umaskini, ambapo unapata ya kuwa sisi kama wanarika tunapitia changamoto. Ile hali ya umaskini haituwezeshi ama haitupi fursa ya kuweza kujiendeleza kimaisha.
Meanwhile, during the greeting of Professor Kamaria on Wednesday by the County Assembly Public Account Committee, it was revealed stock of drugs worth shilling 7.9 donated to the county had expired at Able Level 5 hospital stores.
I'm here with the whole team. Hi, Professor Joe Kamaria, do solemnly swear that the information I shall give.
Kamaria was at pains to explain why the drugs were left to expire in the store without being used when all facilities across the county had over the years been hit by acute drug shortage.
This matters. So for us, just to hear, the auditor is querying 372,000. Yes. And the auditor is saying 35,000 has been
as raw as the year, because if you responded to the Auditor General, then the Auditor General would have clarified the same matters today.
The CEC also had a hard time to explain why outstanding interest amounting to shilling 25.4 million had not been surrendered for the last 5 years, which some junior officers at the county executive said had taken interest of up to shillings 2.9 million. MCAs, led by the PSC chairperson Pomo Chagi, demanded recovery of the long outstanding interest plus sharing 680,000 illegal allowances pocketed by members of the County Public Service Board.
Tumeona kuna dawa sili expire na siko kwa store mpaka saa 7.9 million na silikuwa sawa wakati wa COVID, na hiyo ndi wakati watu walikuwa wengi wanakufa, wengine wanateseka kwenda kununua madawa na bado sinalipikia kwa store.
Deputy Speaker Ibrahim Soleh questioned whether the county government had paid shillings 156 million as insurance for a pickup which was privately owned by a commercial bank. He also noted that the county had not updated vehicle register with details of chassis numbers, e.g. numbers, the date the vehicle were put into use and the date the vehicles were grounded.
Jambo la kushangaza zaidi ni kwamba tumeshuhudia kwamba pesa mingi zimeweza kupotea katika kaunti yetu ya Embu. Moja ikiwa ni unsupported interest ambayo inaudhi sana kwamba afisa wamekuwa wakichukua pesa na hawarudishi document ama makaratasi kuonesha vipi pesa imetumika. Zaidi ya shilingi milioni 20 imejitokeza. Vile vile imejitokeza kwamba tumepoteza madawa zaidi ya shilingi milioni 7.1 ambayo yameenda into waste na hayakusaidia wananchi wa Embu. Imejitokeza kwamba pia kuna zile vitu tunaita incompetence katika mambo ya ufuataji wa sheria.
The auditor report further revealed that the two law firms were paid to shilling 5.8 million without an approval from the county cabinet and also not supported by the itemized fees note. The CEC was given 7 days to document the measure taken to rectify anomalies raised by the office of the Auditor General and report back to the county assembly. Periskego, GBS News.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. That report brings us to our international news, but first let us take a quick commercial break.
So through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins.
지셨고,
he carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified and he received the punishment for sins.
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb.
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데.
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Bedero Kenya ukiwa na depression ni kupenda kwako. If you are in Kenya, you get a depression ni kutaka tu kwako.
Sasa Uhuru Park tutaiba simba ama?
Niulize. Bedero kuna simba ni bebo.
It can affect you and it can affect the community too. So when you hear mental health, just the mental well-being of a person. Yeah.
I think we should also think at some point because we are protesting for a betterment of something else, lakini pia lazima tuangalie tusirudishe shilingi ya Kenya chini. Because tukianza kufanya tena our country irudi chini kifedha, ki business wise, it's going to affect us again.
Okay, very much.
Health is not only the absence of disease, but also emotional well-being, social well-being, and physical well-being.
They were jobless even before they became the president.
Hey, man.
But bado tungoje Tuesday, Thursday.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast, and now for sports lovers, it is time for your most anticipated part of the news, the sports news. Let's get sporty. The government will work with all stakeholders to develop a policy that will address the challenges hindering Kenya's progress in sports, President William Ruto has said. The president expressed concern that many athletes in the country are increasingly being poached by other countries that have studied, learned, and perfected our skills to our detriment. He said the national and county governments will work closely with the Sports Federation, among other players, to develop a sports policy framework that will address the gaps in all disciplines. Speaking when he held breakfast reception for the Kenyan Olympics team that represented the country in Paris, France, at Eldoret State Lounge on Thursday, the president pointed out that the Sports Fund was established to take care of the welfare of sports people and sports.
For ourselves. Let us remember.
Unfortunately, in the program, got 8 medals. Came back with.
Especially now, as we shift gears. This morning is a great morning, ladies and gentlemen, as I receive Beatrice, Faith, Emmanuel, Kwemoy, Obiri, and all the good people. These people are great Kenyans. It is not always that on a global stage, a country is celebrated. It reminds us as a country what we can achieve together. I want to persuade us as Kenyans to celebrate our successes. We are a great nation. I know we set standards, very high standards for ourselves, but I also want to dare say that even as we set standards very high for ourselves, let us remember to celebrate our achievements. Let us remember to celebrate our success. It is not always that you become number one in Africa. It is not always that you become number 2 globally in athletics. It is a major feat. Even as we criticize ourselves, we must remember to celebrate our success. I celebrate all of you. We will make sure that we give you due recognition and the efforts you make, the sacrifices you make. We will, to the extent possible as government, try to recognize and reward those efforts that you're making. I have given very clear instructions to the ministry on the kind of reward system, Waziri, on how, so that, more young people can understand that there is something in sports and the sports can be a career. You are a great Kenyan. And we appreciate what you're doing. Look at this Emmanuel guy. Very young guy. He just, how old is he now? 20. This guy, now, the first, in his debut, the first time he participates in an Olympics, and he wins gold. This is the correct brand of what we expect of people. Mpigeni makofi jameni. These are the great Kenyans. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. You can take your seat. Look at Faith, the last born of our team, right there, with a great future ahead of her. Let us celebrate these good people. And And the senior athletes, those of you who have gone ahead of these younger ones, please provide mentorship.
Indeed, a step in the right direction. Moving on, Kenya Police FC through Football Kenya Federation FKF have confirmed the details for the CAF Confederation Cup opener as they prepare for their continental debut. The match against Ethiopian Coffee is scheduled to take place at Nyayo Stadium on Sunday at 3 p.m. The clash is open to all fans as the team seeks full support in their bid to advance to the next round of the competition. Following this match, Police FC will travel to Ethiopia for the return leg as they aim to qualify for the next round. The aggregate winner of this two-leg tie will face Egyptian powerhouse Zamalek in the second preliminary round. In the preparation for the match, Kenya Police FC have strengthened their squad with several new signings. Among them is goalkeeper Samuel Njau, and has joined the team, along with defenders Daniel Sakari and Geoffrey Onyango. Midfield reinforcements include Brian Musa and Jackson Masharia, while wingers Jafari Owiti and Eric Zakayo have also been added to the roster. Strikers Alfred Reku from Uganda and Abdul Karim Sam from Senegal complete the new signings. Kenya Police qualified for the CAF Federations Cup after clinging to the 2024 FKF Cup title, defeating KCB 8-7 in a penalty shootout following a 0-0 draw in regulation and extra time.
FC will be facing Tusker FC. Tusker finished second in the last edition that they lost to Kakamega Homeboys.
And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Here are GBS News at 9. We make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.